Welcome to PharmaZonner. I am Gaurav Sharma. Today we will discuss about temperature mapping study. Temperature mapping study is a very important topic in pharmaceutical industries. So today we will discuss about temperature mapping. Question and answer. Let's start.
We start with very basic and important question: what is temperature mapping or temperature distribution study in the pharmaceutical industry? Answer is, temperature mapping involves monitoring and recording temperature variations within the storage areas or processing areas such as warehouse, cold rooms, autoclaves, incubators, product processing areas to ensure that product quality and compliance with regulations. Next question: what equipments are commonly used for temperature mapping? Answer is, commonly used equipments are data loggers, temperature sensors, mapping softwares, and thermal mapping probes. What are the four stages of temperature mapping or temperature distribution study? The very first step is we prepare mapping protocol or temperature distribution study protocol. Here we define the action plan or methodology for temperature distribution study. Second step is actual carry out the mapping exercise. In this stage, we place sensors at various defined locations and gather data. Third step is preparation of mapping report. And fourth, final step is implementation of recommendations from mapping report. What is the basic requirement for data loggers used for temperature distribution study? The very basic requirement for data loggers is their availability of calibration certificates. These valid calibration certificates for each of the data logger should be available and shall be attached with the study report. Now the technical and very important question: why hottest point in the area is considered as critical point or considered for routine monitoring process. As we know, higher temperatures are undesirable or unacceptable in case of the areas where products are manufactured, handled or stored. The four major reasons behind considering hottest point as a critical point are: first, most of the chemical reactions occurs more rapidly at higher temperatures. Second, enzyme reaction, oxidative degradation and hydrolysis reactions happens at comparatively higher rate at higher temperatures. Third reason, elevated temperatures can promote the growth of microorganisms. And fourth important reason, higher temperature indicates highest potential for fires, safety hazards or equipment failures. Next question: which are the two conditions that are considered normally during temperature distribution study? In case of chamber temperature distribution study, we consider two cases, that is empty chamber test and loaded chamber test. Whereas in case of processing areas, we consider two conditions, that is at rest condition and at in operation condition. What is seasonal temperature mapping in areas? If storage conditions are affected by seasonal temperature variations, then only at least two temperature mapping studies may be needed, one in the warmest season and one in the coolest season. Commonly, the two seasons, that are winter and summer seasons, are preferred for seasonal temperature mapping study. Now the very basic question: what is hotspot in the area? Highest temperature recorded in the area during the temperature mapping or temperature distribution study is called hotspot in that particular area. This is very important and frequently asked question: how do you select an appropriate temperature mapping locations within a storage area? The very basic reason or rationale behind selection of mapping locations is temperature mapping locations should represent all the area under study. Choose locations that represent the worst case scenario, including areas susceptible to or prone to temperature variations or those which cover critical products. This question is more related with the previous one: at what height temperature monitoring probes shall be kept during monitoring? In case of storage areas, it should be kept at the various heights like lower, middle and highest point of shelves. It should be kept at the pallet level also and in critical areas. Ideally, conduct a risk assessment to identify area where temperature deviations are more likely to impact product quality. Place probes accordingly to address these risks. How do you analyze temperature mapping data? Answer is, data analysis involves examining temperature distribution, identifying hot and cold spots, and comparing results against predetermined or predefined acceptance criteria. What are the consequences of non-compliance with temperature mapping guidelines in the pharmaceutical industry? Answer is, a non-compliance can result in product degradation, regulatory fines, recalls, and damage to company's reputation. When we should perform temperature mapping or temperature distribution study? There are three frequencies at which we should perform temperature mapping or temperature distribution study. First is initial study. This is to be done at the time of new facility creation or new equipment installation. Second frequency is periodic study. This is done every 2 years or 3 years based on the plant specific SOP and risk assessment. Third frequency is after major maintenance work or changes in the facility or equipment. In which areas temperature mapping or temperature distribution study is important? All the areas where product is handled or processed, temperature distribution study is important. Key areas are pharmaceutical product manufacturing and handling areas, warehouse areas or store area, walk-in stability chambers, autoclaves, ovens or incubators, and cold storage areas. Next question, which additional testings are done during temperature distribution study? First additional test is door open testing or challenge test. This test is done to determine the time for which we can keep the door open and that will not have impact on the temperature inside the study room. Second test is power failure challenge test. This is done to determine the time for which power failure will not have impact on temperature inside the study area. How the temperature excursions shall be handled once the area is qualified? Once the area is qualified and handover for the routine use, temperature